So I just got done watching the Bethesda E3 press conference do-up thingy there, and I just want to make some comments just really quickly off the cuff. I took some really quick notes for myself to kind of remind myself what it was I saw, and so that I could just kind of cover it ahead of time. So the first thing I actually noticed was during the pre-show. I thought this was pretty interesting. I'm looking at the little area below my window there, and there's the little symbol for Doom, like underneath there. It says, the game, and then it shows the little Doom box, and that's on the official, page for the GameStop coverage. So, that I found that a little weird. That was who I watched it with, was GameStop's E3 coverage. In any case, yeah, they put Doom sort of front and center underneath to say that this is the game they were going to be talking about, and it was featured pretty prominently and gave me a lot of hope, and then, of course, the press conference itself started, and it starts off with this like montage of all these, all the people that work at Bethesda and ID and all that other stuff. And I mentioned ID specifically because multiple times, these scenes would go by and you'd see people that either like stuff from Doom was in the background when they were talking, or like just front and center, like they're wearing a Doom shirt, or it just says like Doom in big letters on the wall behind them. And, got me really, really excited that they were gonna actually like announce something, cool for Doom. And then the whole thing starts off, and the very first thing they cover is Doom VR. Now, I have a little bit of experience both in show business in general and professional wrestling specifically, and there's a concept that is known as the curtain jerker, the basically the very first thing you present. And the thing is that you always want to open strong, but not too strong. So you always open up with the thing that like is, it's acknowledged as being sort of a very receptive to fans, but not something that the company in general thinks of as sort of their main event billing, as it were. And for them to have opened with Doom VR, like at that moment, I was just kind of like, all right, we're definitely not going to see any new content related to Doom 2016. I feel if they had any plans to do any expansionary stuff for that, they would have waited until at least one or two announcements in, especially considering some of the things they did announce a little later. I feel like they would have waited on that. So for them to have opened with Doom and Fallout VR was just kind of like them saying, okay, well, this is it. And then it moved on to, another thing that like just sort of got me like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a Doubting Thomas. It's just still held out that little shred of hope that they were going to make an announcement in regards to, Doom the game proper. And it ended up being because they were going on about how we love our mod community, and modding has been a part of Bethesda culture since modding began, and it basically started with Bethesda. Did you know that? And we love modders. And so like it's very easy when you're clinging to the last shred of hope to go, oh, please let them be including the Doom SnapMap community in that list of modders. Nope, we ain't modders, because the Creation Club is basically this thing they announced that, okay, so all those like cool mods for Skyrim and for Fallout 4, now we're going to be making like official ones that work in your game no matter what. And you don't have to treat them like regular mods and all this other stuff. And it's just like, okay, yeah, but no coverage for Doom. Moves on to Elder Scrolls Legends, which is some card game that's a cross-platform thing. I don't play collectible card game style video games, so I'm not really keen on what was going on with there. But I am, of course, a huge fan of Skyrim. It's who isn't? Holy cow, Skyrim is a terrific game. So they came along and they announced Skyrim on Switch. Now, I swear to God, I'm not keen on hyperbole here, but if I was, then I would say that the Skyrim on Switch announcement made me want to barf. It didn't literally, but figuratively speaking, there was some figurative vomit coming up in my figurative throat when, first of all, the music that they chose to accompany that section was like this happy, like sort of poppy, whatever, and it's showing Skyrim in the on the Switch screen, and then it cuts to apparently you're playing as Link, So, you're having Link in Skyrim, which sounds like something that should be a mod, anyway. But it was like just sort of the weirdest sort of like you get that moment when you're like, I don't know, maybe this is how people felt in the 70s, the moment when they realized disco is dead, is when you look at Skyrim being played on a Switch with a Link costume included at the start, apparently. And so, yeah, I just looked at that and went, oh man, Skyrim isn't cool anymore. We lost it. So, and then it moved on to this thing called Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, which actually looks kind of cool. I always thought the Outsider was like a really cool character in the Dishonored series. And the idea that he's sort of moving front and center in his own little spin-off game where he gets to be the direct antagonist or whatever the deal is there. And it looks like it's sort of like Dunwall in the future kind of thing. Looks really kind of cool, and I enjoy the Dishonored series, so it's definitely something I'm gonna to check out. And then I moved on to Quake Champions, which was just in my notes here I actually put the words esports wankery. So I have no problem with esports in general. I feel like I might have missed that boat due to age a little bit, so I'm not really. I've actually tried to watch like some of the esports, and maybe the problem is I'm picking the wrong esports because I keep trying to watch people playing. What is it? League of Legends, which is a style of game I'm totally not into, and Dota is another popular one that I just don't get, because I'm not into those kind of games. I had a roommate once that played Smite, and I couldn't. I mean, I felt like, okay, this would be fun. Is there a single player version of it? No. So, in the whole 3 lanes weird tower defense troopy coming out thingy, whatever that style of play, MOBA I think it's called, but it's not a thing I'm into. I think I feel like I may have aged out on that and missed the boat. But, in any case, I'm familiar with what an esport is. And apparently, Quake was like the first esport, and now it's looking to, prove that it's still the best and the brightest and whatever. So, like, the whole Quake Champions thing was like just a bunch of, was basically esports wankery fodder, and it's cool if you're into that sort of thing. And, I'm obviously not the target audience, so can't comment too much about that, which brings up the next thing they announced, which was Evil Within 2. And again, I didn't play the first Evil Within. I'm not really familiar with the series or anything, which is probably why absolutely nothing in the trailer made sense to me. Like, there's a dude coming out of like this weird sort of milk with hands in it that pulls you into it and makes you see your daughter burning while a woman with a number 7 in her hand does a thing. And I don't know. I'm sure it makes sense to Evil Within fans, and if it doesn't, let me know, I guess. And then the last thing they announced, the whole big thing that they closed the show with, with the whole fake finish, was all okay. Well, that's been our trip to Bethesda Land, and that was another thing. That weird Bethesda Land theme that they went with was kind of weird. But in any case, they come out and and then, oh, by the way, here's another coming attraction, just a little thing we're just slip out there, and it's the main doggone event, and the main doggone event is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, and it looks pretty cool, and honestly, like, I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait for the internet, Tom wankery that is about to come. That in 2017 we're going to be releasing a Wolfenstein game about Nazis in America, and you're part of the resistance, which is ostensibly led by a very sassy African American woman, who pranks you with a grenade, and you've got this weird sort of like steampunk Isaac Clarke headgear thing going on, and the whole thing. The whole thing just looks like very timely, and I can't wait to see how the internet reacts to this. I really can't. It's going to be hilarious. But with all that in mind, I mean, I can comment on all this stuff, but really what it comes down to, I did not see anything I was kind of hoping to see in regards to support for Doom. So, but there was one thing that gave me hope. And it is that at the end of the conference there, the CEO, he says, well, everything you've seen tonight will be coming out in the next year. This is our plan for the next year. So based on that, I feel like at the very least the service has at least another year of life in it. And there's various ways that'll happen, but I mean, one of the things they're going to want to do is they're going to want to keep they're going to kind of want to keep the press good for Doom, I think, at least until, just to keep that name, that brand sort of fresh and sort of in, on the right side of doing the right thing by their fans and stuff. And I feel like it's, they would want to at least kind of continue the support for the existing features. So my opinion, and I don't have an in or anything like that, but it's just my opinion that they won't drop any sort of the support for the things that are a little more relevant to my interests. SnapMaps, for example. I have no doubt that the SnapMap service will all but dwindle and fade away come the inevitable Doom 2, but I think Doom 2 is at least another year or two in production. I mean, they the fact that there wasn't even a whiff of anything that wasn't Doom VR at E3 this year tells me that they're at least another year or two away. And of course, the presence of all the sort of Doom stuff that's going on. I mean, it's obviously a franchise they still take seriously. I mean, seriously enough at the very least to put a little cartoon Keiko demon in their Bethesda land graphics, So they, it's apparent they still have an interest in keeping that brand, attractive. And if there's one thing I've learned this year at E3 about Bethesda is they love their properties very much. So I feel like that's at least a sign, a thing I can cling on to say that the SnapMap service will at the very least survive another year or two, and it won't just disappear until there's something to sort of supersede or replace it. So, that's sort of my my silver lining optimism on the whole thing in regards to Doom SnapMap. I felt like everything else I saw was, with the exception of Dishonored Death of the Outsider, not anything I was super excited about. I mean, I think the idea of Doom VR is a little weird. From what I understand, there's people that get motion sickness from playing regular Doom. I know I can't play Doom when my wife's in the room because she gets motion sick just looking at the TV while I'm playing. And, so there's that. And then all the people that get sick from playing VR, I just can't imagine combining the two in any sort of way. But, if anybody can figure it out, it's the mod community because Bethesda, doesn't ever have to fix their own shit. So anyway, those are just my thoughts. I'd be interested to hear yours. Please feel free to comment and be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.